You'll dress down.
Because I forgot to turn it on.
All right. Let us bring the City of Spartanburg's City Council meeting to order. We're going to stand for a pledge of allegiance. But before our pledge, we're going to have a moment of silence as we just reflect on civility in our country. Amen. Mayor Pro Tem, you mind leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We have item 3, approval of the minutes of the April 13th, 2026 City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Item 4, approval of the agenda for the April 27th, 2026 City Council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda by turning number 9.
Item 9.
Item 9, which is listed as an ordinance, into a staff presentation rather than an ordinance. So staff presentation on establishing the participation of the city of Spartanburg in the Spartanburg Children's Cabinet.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. That would be for information only. Got it. Public comment. We have a few public comments today. Item 5.
Now, Mr. Mayor, we now need to make a motion on approving the minutes.
The amended. Do I hear a motion to approve the amended agenda for April 27, 2026 City Council meeting?
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Thank you. Thank you for that. Keeping me straight. Now we move into public comments. The way public comment works, guys, you have 2 minutes. After you come up, just restate your name. Don't have to give your address. We have that on file now. And you will have 2 minutes. You'll hear the clock goes off. And we're pretty strict with our 2 minutes. So let's start off with Marie Griffin. Come on up. She turned in okay. Thank you, thank you. We have Stanley Case. Thank you.
I'm Stanley Turner Case. I'm a lawyer here in Spartanburg, and I'm here to speak with reference to the clock tower. And just to introduce myself,
Oh, 1 second, Mr. Case. If you don't mind turning the mic up a little bit. See if we can get a better.
Can you hear me a little better now?
Better? Sir. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Now your 2 minutes start.
Well,
thank you.
I'm Stanley Turner Case. I'm a lawyer. I've practiced here in town for quite a while. Born in 1951. I'm here to speak with regard to the clock tower, and the purpose of my statement is to say that I believe that having the clock tower put on the county courthouse property would be appropriate, especially in view of the fact that we're now getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation. And by virtue of the fact that the reason we are celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation is that the Revolutionary War was essentially won at the Battle of Cowpens. And there are many, many people in Spartanburg County who are in the outlying areas of the county and who live in the city who in some fashion had ancestors or in some fashion were benefited by the fact that at the Battle of Cowpens, we essentially won the independence of the nation. because at that time there was a motion pending in the U.S. Congress to give the states of South Carolina and North Carolina back to the King of England. A motion was pending. After the Battle of Cowpens was won, that motion was withdrawn. And so it is a matter of history, and the corner of Library Street and Magnolia Street is a place where the new county courthouse is. It's a place that was very close to where the clock tower was, and the place where it is proposed to be is the old Trailways bus system. The old Trailways bus system.
Mr. Case, I'm gonna have to cut you off there, sir.
It was owned by my family, Macduff Turner, and basically it's much more logical to put it near the courthouse.
All right, thank you, sir. Robert Stoddard Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here to advocate for putting the clock tower on the courthouse grounds also for two reasons. One, because every day so many people go to the courthouse, and people from all over the county go. And so it's right there where they can see it. And two, the courthouse grounds have become lately a big center of activity after hours and on weekends. Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock, 5 minutes to 5 exactly, there were 41 people I counted on the courthouse grounds taking prom pictures. I frequently see brides having their pictures taken because of the columns, makes a great background. So I advocate for the courthouse, despite our wonderful meeting, Mr. Former, Mr. Mayor. But thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Kimberly Branch.
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Branch, and I just wanted to go on record and wanted to reiterate points that I sent in the email to all of you last evening, and to publicly disclose to council that our group addressed county council last Monday requesting that they pass a resolution approving reconstruction of the bicentennial clock tower on the courthouse lawn, specifically located on the corner of the Library Street, if not another suitable site on the premises. I understand that discussions between both parties may have already been taking place now. Following Mr. Story's comment at the last city council meeting regarding a lack of outreach from the county as the courthouse being an option to be proposed, we took the initiative to connect county members and the administrator with the proposal. Furthermore, I would like to clarify for the record that the settlement agreement reached with the city on October 8th does not stipulate that the clock tower has to be built on city-owned property. To not rebuild the clock tower in its original design, as indicated in the proposal at Barnett Park, it would take away every bit of the clock tower's history. That's what we fought for, was to keep its history and the design, the historical design. To keep the clock tower in line with our history here, making the courthouse lawn the clock tower's new location site is a much better choice than being a double width in size gateway entrance to an amphitheater park with no parking, no high foot traffic, and absolutely no guarantee that it would ever be torn down again.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Branch. Wesley Starr.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's good to see you again on my 8th visit. Twofold, when Bob Stoddard, my dad, approached the city to get the clock and bell out of storage after 15 years sitting in dust. And if he had not taken those steps, we wouldn't even be here today. There'd never been a clock tower built. I was an assistant city attorney as the city prosecutor for Spartanburg for 11 years. And my dad loved Spartanburg, my family loves Spartanburg. And the whole purpose of originally was to teach the children of Spartanburg County the history of Spartanburg and the Spartan Regiment and how important they were at the Battle of Cowpens. You know, my dad went to schools all over the county because he was county chairman, and 20,000 school children donated money. Now, the 7 of you have a big decision to make, but to go against 20,000 school kids and raising $10,000 back in 1976. My dad went to all these schools wearing a Revolutionary War uniform. It's very important to Spartanburg. It was so important to the nation that they coined the coin in honor of Daniel Morgan. He was a national hero, for those of you that didn't grow up in Spartanburg. And that's why we have in 1881 that statue put downtown. That was the first time after the Civil War that representatives of all original 13 colonies came to something together, the northern states and the southern states. There were 30,000 people downtown to dedicate that statue. Y'all have a big responsibility tonight if y'all decide to vote, and I'm asking you, please put this in front of the courthouse. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Andy Draw. I think I'm getting better.
Hello, my name is Andy Drott, and my wife and I joined the mayor for Miles with the Mayor this Saturday, and part of the route walked through Barnett Park, and I was just really reminded of what sort of an unpolished gem that park is, how lucky we are to have it part of our urban fabric, how much it could be more utilized if, redeveloped and reprogrammed and just activated in that way. And I'm just really grateful and appreciate the plan to move that park forward, to honor it as a place of a compromise for the clock tower. And, I just also, in kind of light of that, I just wanted to look everyone in the eye and say thank you. There's never a perfect choice. Every choice comes with compromise, and you are tasked to bear the responsibility of making those choices. And from my, time here living in Spartanburg, it seems like this city council has really thoughtfully addressed the hard choices that come before you. And on behalf of my family, my daughters, thank you for bearing that responsibility. It can't be easy.
Thank you, sir. Robert Stoddard. I know Junior was up. Was it?
He already spoke.
So, I thought that was.
He's already spoke.
So he just did. No. We got you. Thank you, sir. I didn't know. Good. All right, that ends our public comments. Now, item 6, we have a proclamation declaring the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Spartanburg. So I will ask some of our members from Project Rest to come on down. Just go middle. I can turn on my outside voice. This is going to get you a nice picture. And I'm going to read this all. Thank you all for being here. Whereas Project Rest is committed to addressing the impact of sexual violence by providing compassion, high-quality service to survivors, and fostering social change through education, training, and advocacy. Whereas in 2026, Project Rest proudly celebrates 30 years of service to the Spartanburg community as its rape crisis center, standing as a pillar of support, help, and healing for countless individuals and families. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the reality that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 33 men in the United States will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. Whereas this observance provides an opportunity for our community to recognize the strength and resilience of survivors, to honor their experiences, and to reaffirm that no one has to walk the path towards healing alone. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month also serves to educate our community on prevention and to inspire collective actions to end sexual violence. And whereas Project Rest continues to serve individuals of all ages, backgrounds, circumstances throughout Spartanburg County and beyond with dignity, respect, and care. Whereas the Spartanburg City Council commends Project Rest for empowering and supporting sexual assault survivors and working to prevent sexual violence in Spartanburg. Now, therefore, I, Jerome Rice, by the virtue and authority vested in me, as the mayor of the city of Spartanburg, and on behalf of my fellow city council members, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Spartanburg, and encourage all citizens to join in supporting survivors, raising awareness, and working together to end sexual violence. So with that, thank you. We already got our picture. Chris, I wanted to have my hand up.
I did ask for consent.
Oh, sure.
Consent is important.
We've been down here before. Item 7, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Item 8, Hospitality Tax Committee Board appointment. Ms. Christy Lindsay, City Council, City Clerk, not just City Council Clerk.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm before you this evening for the recommendation of the interview committee for the Hospitality Tax Committee, and they are recommending that we appoint Janine Scott to this board, so I look to you all for direction.
So go ahead, yes.
Yes, I make a motion that we accept Janine Scott as a representative to the.
I would like to second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome Janine onto the team. Item 9, ordinance. And this will be information only, as we stated earlier, an ordinance establishing the participation of the city of Spartanburg in the Spartanburg's Children's Cabinet. Presenter will be Ms. Marilyn, as well as John Tavia Paget. Hey, man.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I am excited to be in front of you all today to share some information about an initiative that Spartanburg Academic Movement, as our strong partner, has led us through in partnership with city staff. So I'll go ahead and give a little bit of background, and then I'll pass it to John Tavia to share a little bit more context from the work that they've been doing, as you all have been aware. So as you all know, and you all have been a part of our constant investment in youth development and economic mobility in our community, and it continues to be a priority that we uplift in the work that we do day to day. And as advocates of this work, this is truly an opportunity for us to build some sustainability and long-term impact and alignment with other partners, and not just the two that you see standing here today. So within the past year, Spartanburg Academic Movement has worked with a technical assistance provider that is nationally recognized, and they've conducted research both nationally and locally with community partners to look at what forming a children's cabinet could look like and what needs to be done to cater to the needs of our local community. So as we share with you all today, the priorities of the cabinet as designed so far, and it is flexible, is going to focus on 2 priority areas: youth engagement and workforce pathways for youth and young adults, and strengthening early childhood education workforce. Within the drafted ordinance that you all can see in your packets today, there are some amendments that will be made with some conversation with staff and Spartanburg academic movement before the final form is presented to you all for approval. But within that, there also establishes a mayor's youth council, which is something I know that has been really important to this council, to find a way to elevate youth voice in the decisions we make day to day. So we're excited to present this to you all, and I'll go ahead and pass it on to John Tavy to speak more about the specifics of what a group like this can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Marilyn, and Mayor Rice and council. So great to be here today and just getting to speak a little bit about the work of the Spartanburg Children's Cabinet. I've been at SAM since May of last year, but this project has actually been going on or thought of and in motion well before I came. So for about a year and a half, we've convened a work group of about 9 community members. Molly Talbot Metz is here. Molly, there you go. From Mary Black Foundation, some other community partners that have really just been champions for serving children and families in Spartanburg. There's a lot of momentum to start this project here within the city, because the city has really coalesced around this idea of improving systems and services that really elevate how we meet the need for children and families. So once again, we just really want to say thank you for that. To give a little bit more context on the design and the makeup of the cabinet is at max capacity, set to be a 24-member body across the county of Spartanburg, and we'll phase that in 2 approaches. So the first phase of that work will look like a 12-member sort of footprint here within the city, and we'll be able to kind of convene around those 2 objectives that Marilyn has already outlined. So that youth engagement piece, workforce pathways, and the early education pathways through the workforce. So we're really excited about that, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but thank you for just the support and the cooperation thus far.
Good. Yes, go ahead,
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Foreman.
Thank you, and thank y'all for that presentation. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to participate in the working group with you, representing our colleagues on council. It's been a very rewarding experience working toward the creation of the Children's Cabinet, which is, as Marilyn said, something that we all have been very keenly interested in as we try to kind of bring together all the various pieces as we try to help the youth in our community and give them amplified voices as it relates to really coming up with initiatives that will move the needle. So I applaud Sam and their partners and all of our community partners that engage in this work, have engaged in this work, and will continue to engage in this work through this new Children's Cabinet. I think it's extremely exciting. I did have a question, Marilyn. I know, and maybe for the public's benefit, obviously initially you, Kim Brown, very active from the city staff perspective. Obviously there'll be others at the staff level that will be engaged. But initially, and I would think that over time there may be initiatives that will come to us that will have a financial cost to them, but initially, once we get to this ordinance, we will just establish the cabinet, and then all of any additional activities as it relates to financial commitments or anything like that will be driven by the work of the cabinet and the recommendations that they're making to council or any of the other partners who may have funding resources. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I'll let John Tavy to speak to this as well, but any recommendations that comes from this group, as you heard, right, some of this work will take place countywide as well, and there's things that we don't have jurisdiction over, but anything that's related to city activities would come to staff first and then go to council as a recommendation. If staff believes it doesn't align with our priorities at council, then we wouldn't even bring it in front, and we would have that conversation on the cabinet. And I believe the cabinet also outlines that there would be an executive member of our city team that's a part of it, as well as a member of city council. I believe the mayor is listed as a member to help influence what the strategic priorities look like.
Yeah, and I can speak to the financial investment piece of that. So the benefit of having Sam involved in this work as well as that convener in the Backbone organization is really that we're able to kind of connect the dots where some organizations may not naturally engage. And with that has come some resources where we're able to bring people to the table and provide that facilitation and administrative support. So our time is also being put into that project as well, even if we don't sit in a formal seat. But from Sam, I'll serve in that role as the facilitator and administrator for the cabinet.
And John Tavia, you hit on the next and final point I was going to make as it relates to something that's always keenly interesting to me is making sure that we're doing everything we can to leverage dollars, pool resources and leverage dollars and see those dollars travel, a longer way in making an impact collectively for our community. So that's good to hear. Thank you.
Councilwoman Smith.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, ladies, for coming tonight and presenting. And just for a little clarity, we're talking about forming two separate entities. One is the cabinet that you described that will be phased, first starting with 12 members that will focus at the city to then be scaled to 24 at the county level. But then the youth council will be made up of youth, and that will just be youth from the city, or is that going to be then scaled to youth from the county as well?
So based on what's outlined so far in the ordinance, the youth council would actually be the mayor's youth council. So it would be something that the city team would fully be able to define as it relates to the interests of our city staff and council, but also we would be able to find a way, right, to define where the connection is and how this group helps influence the youth, the children's cabinet more broadly. So you're right. Those are two separate bodies. One has more structure around it with the leadership of Sam the past year working with this work group, and the other one will be further defined based on conversation with staff and the mayor.
And I can also add just a little bit to that. Thank you, Marilyn, sorry. That was one of the joys that we've had working with our national partner to really develop a Spartanburg Children's Cabinet truly for Spartanburg and not to Spartanburg. So when we looked at some other models across the country, we kind of saw similarities that we like to pull from, but when we really got in the weeds of this work here in Spartanburg, we heard that the youth engagement piece was a core piece that we really needed to elevate. So we went back to the drawing board and said it would be great for the mayor's youth council to really sit within, a connective tissue capacity for this project. So that was one of the very intentional pieces that is very true to Spartanburg and wasn't necessarily a model that was a cookie cutter fit from anything else, but truly the need of Spartanburg.
Well, and one other thing, Jamie mentioned initiatives, but I think another powerful thing that can come out of this is not just new initiatives that can serve youth and families, but a way to highlight policy changes that might need to occur. When we look at one of the largest levers that we can pull to change systems, oftentimes it's bad policy or a lack of policy that gets in the way for serving our families. And we've been talking more lately about how do we engage with both our county counterparts and our state counterparts, and I think this would serve as a mechanism to speak with one voice as Spartanburg with some of those state partners and either recommend policy or get behind, and advocate for some things that we know that we need here as well.
Yeah, and I think one key point is that truly in its fullest capacity, the Children's Cabinet is less of a forum to come together and ideate over the issues that we have already recognized in a lot of other programs around the city and the county, but really to take some of those proven solutions and those already established programmatic pieces to really move that forward and do exactly that, is just to connect the policy pieces. So if it's coordinating funding streams across agencies or really driving some more of that really impactful collective impact here in Spartanburg, then that's how that cabinet is supposed to function.
Good. John Tavia, Marilyn, thank you guys. We have, as John Tavia mentioned early in her introduction that we've been well over a year or so working on this Children and Families Cabinet, and, you know, really just making sure everything we do here as a council, we do have eyes on it and how it affects all of our children and all of our families here in the city of Spartanburg. And something that's near and dear to me is the youth cabinet piece as well, where we want to have our youth to have that voice. They will have direct contact and interaction with the mayor on a daily or monthly, however we eventually end up establishing that. And I want to thank all of the partners. I see Dr. Booker's here as well. Thank you for your leadership in this. And again, you did mention Molly Talbot-Metz in the audience as well. And thanks to all the other team members as we move this forward. So thank you for that information. We look forward for you guys coming back soon.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Resolution, item 10. Resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a development agreement for the aviation headquarters facility and other matters related thereunto. Mr. Kelvin Limehouse, Assistant City Manager, presented this evening. Mr. Limehouse, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you. As you all have heard tonight, we have a number of wonderful partners. Before I start this evening to tell you about this project that we're very excited about, I just want to take the time to recognize the number of people that have worked with us to make this happen. First and foremost, Terry Connerton is here with us. He's our airport director. Without his vision and guidance, we would not have the facilities and capabilities to put into play a number of our economic development projects that we're doing out at the airport. Terry, tongue-in-cheek, says it's his accent that makes these things happen, but we know it is actually his vision and care for one of the best assets we have in the city, and we're thankful for him. We also had the great privilege to work with Catherine O'Neill and Nancy Whitworth, one Spartanburg, who gave kind guidance throughout the process. And then Joseph McMillan and his team at Axos, to include Steve Queer and Trey Odom, and the rest were amazing, amazing partners and about the community and being here in Spartanburg. And Mayor, as you said, you know, we're asking for approval this evening to enter into a development agreement with Axos LLC to create their corporate aviation headquarters. We're going to develop this on 5 acres of city-owned property where Axos will develop 20,000 square feet of hangar space, 1,000 square feet of office space, and supporting aviation infrastructure. This is a minimum investment of $4 million into the city, and our Axos is already out there. They're wanting to build into this space, and just with the limited capacity they have so far, they've already built 37 local jobs with an average salary of $71,000. That will only increase, and we're really excited to partner with them on that. This project aligns directly with the goals of the airport, increasing activity out there, supporting economic development for the region, and strengthening Spartanburg's position as a hub for business, especially related to aviation services. We recommend the approval of this resolution to allow for minor modifications as needed for finalization. Certainly happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Any questions? Councilwoman Rogers.
Kevin, I just wanted to acknowledge from our conversation earlier, just the thoroughness of this agreement, everyone that was at the table, how hard it was prepared and worked. Also thinking of the aviation industry and innovation, what is it going to look like in a number of years, and thinking through how technology could change and how it could impact the city and Axios team. So I just wanted to acknowledge the thoroughness and thank you for that. And also, you know, transportation is really key to business growth. It's key to opportunity, and it's attractive to people that are looking, organizations, businesses that are looking at Spartanburg. So I really appreciate the focus on growing this capability.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fulmer.
Kevin, echo Leslie's comments. I mean, I know this has been a long time in the works as all the relevant parties have come to the table to bring this to fruition. It might be helpful to explain exactly what Axio does.
Yes, sir.
You know, I know they're going to be using the 20,000 square foot hangar space. They're bringing 30 jobs. $4 million investment, but what is the business they bring to our downtown airport?
Yes, sir. Without, and y'all know I'll go into the nerdy details, so I'll try and keep it high level. The quick overview is they do a variety of things with cargo, some things with executive transport and chartering services. But to Ms. Rogers' point, one of the exciting things about this venture is the opportunity for future engagement. So to include things with drones, to include things which are called eVTOLs, which are electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. So Terry does an amazing job of being one of the forefront airports in the state and being an example for other people to follow and putting in this infrastructure to allow for the future of transportation. And to be able to do that with an industry partner is a benefit that most people do not have. So apart from their already existing services, which have expanded greatly just with the facilities they have now, when we add on what they're trying to do with us now, those baselines expand, but then we have the opportunity for so much more, and we're excited to partner with them on it.
And I know from conversations with you and others that this was a competitive process in the sense that they didn't necessarily have to locate in Spartanburg. They were already housed in Spartanburg. Their preference was to be in Spartanburg, but there were other places that were competitively trying to attract them. And so the ability for us to work through this deal and arrive at a resolution is beneficial to us all here in the city of Spartanburg.
Yes, sir, very much so. And I want to give credit where credit's due. The One Spartanburg team was critical for making that happen, and I also think that it speaks to the character of the people at Axos that we want to partner with, because they have chosen Spartanburg. They want to be here. Their other company, by the way, Extriaxia, I think I'm pronouncing it right, which is in downtown, currently now has 7 employees and about to hire 8 more with the Power Up program, which is in conjunction with One Spartanburg, and those have an average salary of $62,000. So they're bringing quality people. They believe in Spartanburg, and we've been working to have them here. So yes, sir, it's been a pleasure.
Councilman Rogers, yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say, having done my research, Axio also has medical transportation, yes, which I think is a key service for our local growth as well, yes, correct?
Ma'am. And there's some wonderful things that Terry has done out at the airport that enhance that even more. But it benefits our citizens not only from the economic development growth, but from a public safety growth as well, so that we are now able to provide first responder services with the hospital, with potentially drones in the future, and getting things as their crow flies to people much faster. It's life-saving. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. And what is the potential of the growth with jobs? You were explaining how many that are already there, but we also talk about the potential.
Yes, sir. Well, they've been doing it with the limited space they have now.
Right.
And when they can increase that, I have faith in them to continue going. And, without, being too much about their business, I think it's their intent to continue to grow to their best capacity. And they're certainly planning these buildings for growth.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So we anticipate more coming, which will, benefit the airport just by continuing more and more people coming in.
Awesome. Do I hear recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, I make a recommendation that we approve the resolution. Second. As read.
I hear a second. Councilwoman Brown. All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Limehouse. Mr. Story, item 11, Clock Tower.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I've got several slides and updates to share about the clock tower. I will start with one that I think should be in a issue with a variety of opinions and a lot of interest. I wanted to start with one thing I think is a really nice thing from all perspectives. and that is that the bell, which, as you can see, when we brought it down, was not in that great of shape, is now refurbished and on public display in the atrium of the headquarters library. We think it's we encourage folks to visit that display. We're grateful for our partners at the library for making it possible for folks to get up close to it, and we're really pleased with the beauty of the restored bell. To the right there, you see the plaque that was authored in 1979. It too has been restored. That has always been very significant to me because a lot of different attachments come to it, and we've heard even tonight the expressions of what the intent was and what were the motivations of folks in the 1970s. Well, we have firsthand what their words are. And so we encourage folks to go by the library and take a look, and because it's clear statement of their purpose in that endeavor at the time, and it is, I think, a wonderful piece of our history. I'm glad it's been polished, and I'm glad it's publicly accessible. As I know it's been, I guess we're approaching 3/4 of a year or more as we've been moving through this clock tower process. And I wanted to remind folks, because I think the context does matter, one of the tough parts, or I say tough parts, one of the basic requirements of being a city manager is to make recommendations. And then, of course, the council acts on those recommendations or doesn't. But I wanted to refresh the council on what our original staff recommendation was and why, because we have heard in recent weeks about the desire for the clock tower to be connected to a governmental building and property. And of course, that was our original intent in our original recommendation. On the left-hand side, you see the original clock tower in which that bell, when it was initially acquired in 1881, it was installed in the clock tower that was part of the city government building, which was known as the Opera House. It then moved to the county courthouse and was in the second clock tower you see there. The third clock tower is actively, or the third in this image, is actively under construction today, just steps from Morgan Square, on Church Street, which is one of the center corridors of our downtown. And our original recommendation was to have a display like this in the lobby of underneath the taller, more modern approach to the clock tower in the similar arrangement as its original two homes. As we all know, that recommendation, while approved by City Council, was the subject of a lawsuit which resulted in this settlement. And what we are debating now and have been considering this spring, some 6 months after the lawsuit settlement, is how to fulfill that settlement. And I just want to clarify a couple of points about that have arisen recently. One is, of course, the settlement does not say that it must be located on city property. However, that's just a practical impediment that the city must, a practical reality that the city, in order to fulfill that, must either own the land or have a permanent legal right to access and maintain that. So it's just a practical impediment. Yes, it's not specified in the settlement, but we can't literally issue a building permit for something to be constructed on property without the property owner's permission. And so that's one of the constraints that we're working within on this process that is and there have been other comments made about what the settlement says or doesn't say about the clock tower that to be erected. And I just want to be clear, you know, we've provided this as a public document, and it doesn't prescribe exact dimensions or that it not be connected to other facilities or things of that nature. I just want to be transparent about that. Because in light of that settlement, we developed the criteria that would influence or guide our recommendation to you about how to best fulfill that settlement there. So this is the core points of the settlement, and these are the criterion that we thought best fulfilled what we understood to be the expectations of the community and how we could be sure we've fulfilled in good faith that settlement. So we wanted a site that could work in perpetuity, work for generations there. We wanted high visibility. There was lots of discourse last fall and last summer about the desire for it to be a visually prominent landmark. So yes, we, just as the new clock tower of the city county joint facility on Church Street is going to be passed by 20,000 cars and visited by everyone who goes to do business in that building that's under construction there on the right. We wanted this clock tower that was subject of the settlement to be also in a high visibility corridor, so that it could be a landmark that folks could visually identify with. We wanted to be downtown, of course. We thought that was consistent with the history and the purpose. There was discussions about one of the arguments against the original staff recommendation is that the joint city-county facility won't be open on the weekends and things of that nature. So we wanted to make sure we had unrestricted public access in the site. And of course, I've already discussed the bullet point here about city-owned. Again, just a practical reality that in order to build it and maintain it, we have to have a legal right to do that. And we also wanted it to be in a different part of our downtown, with the new clock tower already under construction on the front facade of the joint city-county building. We thought it made sense for this one to be, yes, part of our downtown, but not in a direct sight line of it. Acquiring, adding some visibility and prominence and renewed energy to another portion of our downtown. So those were the criterion that drove our recommendation, which we provided a month ago to incorporate the clock tower as part of a multi-element refurbishment and effort to enliven and take greater utilization of Barnett Park. So we presented that about a month ago. As you can see here, it would not displace any of the elements of Barnett Park, but add an additional element to it and serve as an entry gateway feature. So those are parts of it there. We had proposed in this design concept larger openings so that the bell and with modern lighting could be more visually prominent than it was in its last home and things of that nature. I won't go through all of the details of what was presented last month, but I'll tell you what we've done since then. Since last month, we sought public comment. We weren't seeking a a poll on it. We were seeking public comment because we know that there's different levels of interest in this community, and we did get a very healthy set of robust thoughts from folks in our community. We received, once we took out some of the duplicates, we received about 130 emails that were specific to that. We had about 40 of those 130 that made comments that were related to a variety of different aspects and sites and that kind of thing. We had 45 that were in support of the Barnett Park recommendation, and we had 45 also, ironically, coincidentally, the same number that mentioned specifically the desire for it to be at the county courthouse. And so that's where we were, sort of three equal baskets, I guess you could look at it, and they were all varying levels of depth. Some of the folks, and we really appreciate those that really dug in to explain their thoughts and thinking. That was important. For example, we learned specific commentary on the design of the Barnett Park proposal. We had some folks who said that they didn't, like certain aspects, and that's kind of feedback that can be provided to the design team if that proposal advances. And there was lots of substance to some of them, and in some of them they were one sentence long. So we wouldn't suggest that they're all on the same footing, but we wanted to give you a sense of what that public comment has been. So I want to talk a little bit about the courthouse specifically, because I think this is important for folks that we be fully transparent about that. That discussion has been active in our community, and certainly been active online and in other places for a couple of months now. There are a couple of so the desire for some for it to be located at the courthouse is not a secret, as you've heard tonight. It's been discussed directly with the county, and the advocates for that position have brought it forward to the county. And again, we should say at the city staff level, we understand that logic. That logic is consistent with what we'd originally recommended. It's a different manifestation of it, but it's consistent with the same logic for that. We simply can't make a recommendation to you all that you act in that direction because you don't have the legal right to do it. There is another aspect of that I don't think I've shared with the lawsuit plaintiffs, but I don't think is publicly understood, that a portion of the courthouse grounds, when they were going through that facility planning, the corner of Library and Magnolia Street, was that complex was laid out to enable a future county council, and this is not anytime soon, could be decades away, to have a viable construction footprint for a subsequently developed office building if, for example, the solicitor's office and the public defender's office grew at a rate that required it. There is roughly a 15,000 square foot building pad there on that corner that could be built out one day without having that structure sit in front of the new courthouse. Is everybody, I don't know if you can visualize, but the intent is always for the courthouse for the view from Magnolia Street to the front facade of the courthouse to be unobstructed, but that Library Street corner there could be a nice, attractive, complementary part of a sort of a judicial square one day. I can't in good faith recommend to you all that I think that's wise planning. I think that's thoughtful planning on the part of the county, and I think it's good for downtown Spartanburg to preserve that option. So I can, in good faith, recommend to you all that you petition the county to foreclose on that long-term option. Again, I think it's decades away, but there might come a time where that would be a very valuable thing to do. So in summary, for those two reasons, the fact that that the courthouse has been discussed for a couple of months now, and we've yet to have any type of clear indication from the county that that is something that they want. And secondly, the soundness of the downtown long-term planning associated with preserving that Library Street corner. Those two reasons are why I am not recommending you pursue the courthouse. It doesn't have anything to do with the historic logic. Again, we align fully with that. So I think there's also a spirit in the community that's ready to move forward. And I do think there was a healthy level of support expressed in the public comments for the Barnett Park proposal. Again, some of the things that make that particular concept appealing to us is that it's a place that today and in the future, and more so, generations of families take children there to the grounds for different events and activities. One of our largest festivals is International Festival, and Barnett Park's long been its home, but there are also concerts and events and activities, and splash pad that operates short distance away in the summertime. And it's a destination for positive intergenerational action activities today and more so. And there is a city parking facility just on the other side of the Chapman Center, and a small city-owned parking lot on Dean Street that is dedicated to park use, and we believe it does meet those thresholds for access. And in contrast to some other sites where we could consider, it is on the highest traffic corridor in terms of being visually prominent there on the corner of the park. So for all those reasons, staff's recommendation to you all tonight would be to authorize us to proceed with the next phase of design and direct us to include in the budget for the next fiscal year, which would take effect July 1, the funds to construct the clock tower with some slight modifications based on public input process from what you saw a month ago. So that's a recommendation tonight. Certainly welcome any questions that you have.
Comments, Councilwoman Lewis, Mayor Pro Tem. Excuse me.
I've had a few concerns, Chris, about the splash pool. They were concerned as to whether the splash pool was going to go away, but I believe I see it there, right? It's going to stay in place.
That's correct. There are two elements that exist there today. Neither in that entrance plaza. One is the statue of exuberance. You can see that is in the circle there by the edge. That would remain, as would the arbor decorations and the splash pad behind it. That would remain. So nothing would be taken away from the park.
Thank you.
Questions? Councilwoman Smith.
Chris, thank you for walking through the courthouse part. I know several of us spoke to our county council, or some of our county council counterparts. I've been saying that too much today. And, in transparency, the council person I spoke to, there was not the desire for county council to take it up.
Right.
And I believe that if county council wanted to move in that direction, they would have made that very clear before tonight. Could you just real quickly, 2 of the other locations among the 40, thank you for breaking those down, that came up kind of frequently, and I can apply the logic of it, but if you could just connect the dots. One was Richardson Park, and then several people mentioned also the train depot. What was staff's thinking around not selecting those 2 locations?
I'll do the train depot first because that's a simpler answer. The train depot sits off Magnolia Street, which is, Magnolia Street averages about 2,700 vehicles a day. And vehicles are only one part of the equation, but it just is an indicator of prominence. And we did hear that folks wanted this to be prominent and visible. And Magnolia Street has about 2,700 vehicles per day, whereas St. John Street here has about 18,000 vehicles a day in this section. So multiples more eyes on it, multiples more visibility was part of the logic on that. Frankly, Richardson Park, we at the staff level are trying to determine what the vision should be that we would advocate for that corner. We think that area needs significant amount of thinking here, and that thinking could lead us in lots of different directions. There are lots of different potential outcomes there, and as traffic patterns evolve and that type of thing, the curved portion of Broad Street, there may be some changes that are logical. So we don't feel as confident that that could be as safely assured as a permanent home as we do with Barnett Park. Barnett Park, we believe, is unlikely to experience, after this wave of change, anything that would fundamentally repurpose it. But it's entirely possible that there could be additional amenities or additional vision that would come to the fore for Richardson Park over the next decade or so. So I just didn't feel as much like it could be in good faith saying that we're doing this in a fully complementary way.
Good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Chris, one of the other locations was Morgan Square, and the possibility of there. I mean, I think, at least in my recollection of that, there was reluctance to look at Morgan Square primarily because of the proximity to the new building, as you mentioned, just steps away, that would already have a clock tower. So you'd be adding clock tower within, a stone's throw of a clock tower in that sense. And it just sort of seemed to be, not consistent with the overall landscape of a downtown to have that many so close by. Are there any other thoughts along the lines as to why Morgan Square was not a consideration?
Well, that is certainly the primary reason, and that we didn't recommend Morgan Square. The primary reason is that this will be about 180 feet away, and this clock tower will be about 120 feet tall. So you'll literally be able to see it from the corner of Main and Church, and when you're, if you were crossing Church to walk from to walk across into Morgan Square, you would be able to look to your left and see this. So we thought that then it raises a whole different set of questions for young folks and others with our eyes to the future about that. And so we thought it would be a missed opportunity to add some positivity to another portion of our downtown were we to do that. Also, the visions that the priorities that emerged in the public input process that took place about Morgan Square did not emphasize that. It emphasized events and gatherings and active use and green space.
And Chris, one of the things that was mentioned as you went through the criteria, or one of the things that wasn't mentioned that is very important to me based on conversations I've had with members of the committee and other people in the public, is that we, in repurposing the clock tower, wherever we end up doing it, whether it's Morgan Square or wherever, that we are intentional about preserving the history of it, the history of the original clock and the bell, the history of the effort that led to the design of the clock tower in 1979, the movement of the clock tower from one location to the other as progress dictated. I mean, all of those things are important elements of the history, not to mention the plaques with students, the 20,000 students' names on it who contributed to the clock tower effort in the early to mid, or I guess the mid 1970s. So, how have we thought about incorporating all of those elements into the new design?
Well, and there are some finalization of details that would need to be worked through to achieve the specific vision for that. For example, we heard over the last month that it looked like from the renderings proposed at Barnett Park that some of the plaques would be too high, and that's a design adjustment that can be made. We certainly plan to reinstall the plaques that have the names of the students.
No bricks.
There weren't any names on any bricks, so we can't do that. That's a narrative that's out there, but it never was tied to reality. There's an interesting aspect of this that one of the reasons why the library chose the bell and the original, the plaque, is that when our predecessors years ago, remember the clock tower was constructed in 1979 as part of it was constructed at the intersection of Liberty Street and East Main Street, near now what the playground that's on Denny's Plaza. That was the closest thing to that. That's not the location many folks know, right? Because that was only the location for about 7 years before discussion began about moving it. A very short period of time. And so our predecessors in the 80s, 1989, I was a freshman on the Wofford campus when it was moved. And I remember seeing and hearing a little bit about it at the time, but when it was moved, the city at that time simply moved that very plaque you see right there. They didn't change how the purpose of the clock tower was altered at that time. In other words, there's nothing on the site. There was nothing on the site that we were familiar with for the last number of decades that discussed the 1989 move. That move was not discussed and recorded with additional plaque, and I just think that's interesting. I'm not saying we should or shouldn't. I just think that's an interesting part of the history, is that they literally moved the clock tower, literally moved the plaque. That's how they chose to handle that situation at that time. But we obviously, you all have a number of different choices about how to describe the history and evolution of all this in perpetuity.
And Chris, you referenced the feedback is specifically related to the design, the height of the plaques, but there were other comments, and I think I've heard you mention that there's the potential in the new clock tower to build some sort of treatment so that you could look up into the bell and actually see the bell as it's ringing with better lighting and things like that. I found that interesting, but then also, you know, one of the comments related to accessibility, and you know, I would hope that if council moved forward with this recommendation, that we would take a look at, you know, possibly including some additional handicap parking spots on that along the street there, or finding out ways that we could enhance the accessibility there, because I think that'll be important for folks going forward, and then obviously also, you know, maintaining the history associated with that, because it is a rich history and it means a lot to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. You know, and I think that's part of what makes the whole story around it special, and part of what makes the intensity of the discussion about what you do with it going forward, you know, so relevant.
Absolutely, and that's one good thing about this whole process, which has been difficult for everybody in this room and many others not in this room, is that it is served as incontrovertible evidence that people care deeply about this community and their downtown and the history and all of those things together.
Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Chris, for that presentation. I'm gonna go back on record about just personal preference. It's really not about, I love the design. I love the idea of, you know, the restored bell and things like that, but I still am not sold on the location. And I had over the weekend, just jotted down a few reasons why I feel this way. You mentioned the train depot, and Chris, you mentioned, you know, highly trafficked areas, but I'm a little bit more interested in foot traffic rather than vehicle traffic, because to me, people need to be paying attention to the road. And I worry, you know, we see so many folks all the time, you know, on their phones and everything else, and that sort of being a distraction of like, oh, the clock tower, and really not paying attention. But the visibility just isn't as strong as I would like. It just kind of feels mismatched in its purpose. You know, a park entrance to me feels like a very transitional space, and so people are kind of moving in and out, but it is not. And while I do like the idea and hope that this area is going to become more programmed, the programming is not going to be as much as we would hope for it to be. I think when Roger was given the presentation about the upgrades to the stage and the lighting and all of that, their hope is to have about 5 shows a year, which is great, but when we think about the core area of downtown with the baseball games and everything that's going on, I mean, you just can't compare the foot traffic. To me, in my personal opinion, you know, a clock tower sort of works as like a civic hub for our businesses in the downtown core area, where people naturally stop and look around, and it's also used as like a reference point. I know when I have had friends that are new to Spartanburg that I've met downtown, I'm like, I will meet you at the clock tower. You can't miss it. You know, if they're unfamiliar with that space, you know, having that type of reference, I think, is important. I just feel like it should be anchored in the civic, more engaged area of our downtown. I also feel like symbolism matters to me, and I think it matters to all of us, and I think adding all these historical components and making sure that's included is important. But I feel like, you know, a municipal clock tower, it actually represents civic identity, and putting it at the entrance of Barnett Park feels to me very disconnected. I can't suggest where we put it. I'm not familiar with city-owned properties in downtown, but I just feel like a location downtown is just far more meaningful, and to me, it carries much more significance. And I'm probably the lone wolf in that opinion. And that's fine, because that's why we're all here. We're not robots. We're not here to agree on everything. We're here to have thoughtful discussions. And when we agree. And when we don't, we don't. And we, make decisions and what we feel is best and move on from that, whatever the outcome might be. So, thank you.
Sure, thank you for that. Any other comments? No. Yeah, sure.
This is just a comment, or maybe a question at the end. Chris, I forget if this came about in your first long, now famous presentation that you gave on the history, or if it was in conversation, but I could tell in reading all of the emails, and Mr. Stoddard, you said this was your eighth time in front of us. I could tell in reading the emails that there was a contingent that was really interested in preserving and honoring Mayor Stoddard's legacy. And I hope that one day my children will come and advocate for anything I've done. So the fact that you and your whole family and your grandson or your son, have all participated in this process speaks very highly of your family. And when we think about 1979 and all that was happening economically, it was a very different time. Downtown was not the thriving epicenter that we know of it today. It's almost flipped of what we see today. Westgate Mall was built in, I believe, 1975. And a lot of that economic traffic and excitement was pulled to the west side. You wouldn't know it today. Like I said, if you go to Westgate Mall, there is still people shopping there, I promise. But so I think part of Mayor Stoddard's genius around the clock tower wasn't just to get children excited and, kind of incite this civic engagement, but was really to get people back downtown and to get people excited to come back downtown. We talk so much about our downtown businesses and how can we drive people back to shopping. Whether it's on that plaque or not, which we all know it's not because we've read it, I can imagine that as a good mayor, part of what he was trying to do as well was to get people back to downtown, to frequent these businesses, to remind folks that downtown in this new world of cars and malls and shopping centers, that we can still have a place where people can come and walk around. So to me, that's been part of the clock tower's story as well, is it was almost this activator of downtown. And we saw it work, right? We go downtown now and it's full of people walking around and all of this. And so if the clock tower is moved to Barnett Park, I see this almost as a part of the mayor's legacy, as a part of taking it to another place in our city that has potential, but the people haven't quite seen it yet. We know that folks frequent Barnett Park. International Festival is one of my most favorite events of the entire year. There was a woman at Miles with the Mayor that was so excited for Rhythm and Ribs coming up. So there are people that do love that space, but someone spoke about, Andy said it was a small gym, a quiet gym, something like that. There are more people that can come to that space with better programming. But I think if we were to move the clock tower there, that would bring a new spark of excitement. More people would want to come and see it. And I see that as a part of Mayor Stoddard's legacy. The plaque talks about upon the ringing of the bell, people will think about the future, the quality of life, talks about the quality of life of Spartanburg. And for me and my family, our parks and having a green space and a place to run freely, and I remember our kite festival, and all of the things that we can do in a space like that, to me, that is one of the greatest quality of life aspects that we can bring to the children now of Spartanburg. There's so many places and neighborhoods in our city that kids don't have a green space to run around and play freely in the streets, but Barnett Park offers that for them. And so I think about how Mayor Stoddard would, and I can't speak for him at all, for the Stoddard family, but how he might possibly take joy in knowing that all of today's school children could come and be safe and find quality of life and joy, which that plaque speaks to, in a space like that where the clock tower stands, and continue to be a place of activation for the city. It's like where the clock tower goes, so goes the people, so goes the activation, so goes the hubbub. And so that's what I've been kind of reflecting on, is it's not necessarily about what a tower looks like or anything like that, but it's more of what does it bring? What does it represent for the progress and for the future, which that plaque speaks to. So if we vote here soon, that's the spirit that I'm taking into it, is it's about the quality of life for residents today, which Mayor Stoddard so beautifully thought of and encapsulated for us, that we get to continue that legacy today.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate those words, Councilwoman Smith. And being and being a person, one of the 20,000 names inside of the clock tower,
You were there?
yeah, yes, my name is in there, as well as my wife's name, my sister, my brother. I do think it activates, and I do think Barnett Park is an active spot for children. And I do look over to Kim Brown and just think about all the activities we have. And anytime we need something, a space for a large group of people, Barnett Park is that space. You know, so I think it would really, I think about the kids these weekends, prom time. They do find a spot to go take those nice pictures. It happens to be the county courthouse this year, but I do see that spot, if put at Barnett Park, being Barnett Park, to where we will see those kids with prom pictures and all taken, graduation pictures taken. So again, it is iconic for Spartanburg. Jamie said it best. It does mean a lot to a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. So it is something that we all cherish, and to have this conversation to go on this long, truly means that it matters. It matters to a lot of us, not just on the council, but to a lot of the constituents here in Spartanburg, the city, the county, and I'm sure within the upstate. So. But with that being said,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
before somebody makes a motion, I did want to just hone in on something that I failed to mention or ask about when I was asking Chris. And I think I know the answer to this, but I think it's important to be clear about it. All of the options that would have been available to us came with roughly the same costs, the same price tag. It was around $800,000, if I recall. Yeah. And so that's what we are looking at would be consistent with that, short of any other additional changes that we made to the park that would be funded under different sources.
That's correct. We have been working at staff level, been anticipating that next year's budget would incorporate that cost irrespective of location.
Okay.
Good. Any other?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a new member of council, I wanted to take a moment and just give some thoughts of my own, as well as build on what everything has been shared over an extended period of time. During last fall's election, the clock tower was one of the topics I heard about most often. The feelings many in our community had and continue to have are real and deeply personal and deserve to be acknowledged. Coming into this seat after much of the public debate has given me a different perspective, including the opportunity to reflect on how profoundly this experience has affected so many people. I continue to hear retrospective comments about the process, and I believe there are important lessons for all of us in that. Places and landmarks hold meaning beyond their physical presence. They become part of our shared story and memories and the identity that we have as a community. This experience reinforces how valuable it is for residents to stay engaged, aware, and involved in what's happening with our city. The community participation, and I cannot tell you the number of comments and just conversations. It's really extraordinary what this topic has given our community in terms of engagement and interaction with each other. Community participation is essential to moving Spartanburg forward in a way that honors our history, what we value thoughtfully, building on the beautiful city that we have. A clear plan was developed for the next chapter of the clock tower story. The bell, the plaque, and other preserved elements have been carefully maintained and displayed at the Spartanburg County Library, which we can all now go see and interact with until the new location is ready. The city also created a dedicated email channel for public feedback. Again, another point of engagement. I love that there were 3 main buckets in which the comments really aligned. That means we're talking to each other. That means we've come up with potential opportunities and solutions. And Chris, thank you so much for going through each one and really talking us through it. I believe it is important that we move forward, acknowledging the disappointment and emotion and the toll that it has taken on our community, while channeling that energy into creating something meaningful for Spartanburg's future, while maintaining these historical elements and sharing these stories with our children, grandchildren, and the new members of our community that are going to be moving here. We have an opportunity to build this new place of connection, remembrance, and pride in an accessible locations where families can gather and where our community can continue investing our time together. So again, I am new to council and I do have a different perspective, but it has been very moving for me, not only in service for this city and its community, but also for me personally to see how one topic can really actually take us from one place to another and how we can work together to really address how we want to craft the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm going to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, everyone that I have spoken to are in favor of the clock being moved to Barnett Park. And saying that, I am going to make a motion that we move forward
To Barnett Park.
to Barnett Park.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose?
Respectfully, nay.
All right, ayes have it. Mr. Story, move forward. City Council, no, staff updates.
No updates tonight unless there are questions, Mayor.
All right. City Council updates, item 13. And we're going to start with Councilwoman Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate again that I look forward to this opportunity to working together on the new location. And I want to give a huge thank you to our community partners, knowing that April has gotten so much attention between this meeting and the last, but really how we're focusing on our future and our children through the Spartanburg Academic Movement, Project Rest, A Place to Call Home. I have been just in awe of the hard work that is going into our community and into our families. And it was brought to my attention today that there is a community tennis festival happening on Saturday, May 2nd at the McCracken Tennis Center to benefit the Hope Center for Children. So if you're interested, I printed out a very little flyer, but just the events and the opportunities to make a difference for our next generation continue to amaze me in the best way.
Tennis festival?
Tennis festival, community tennis festival, Saturday, McCracken Tennis Center from 9, there's a kids clinic from 9 to 10:30, and then there's an adult clinic from 10:30 to 12. It is $5 a person, but there is a place to register, and I was assured today that they are very excited about the event when I received the phone call.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's up here if anyone is interested.
Councilwoman Smith.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who's engaged and stayed engaged in this process so far. I think this last 3/4 of a year, as you've said, and this last week, as we've talked about East Main Road Diet, a new term that many in Spartanburg were introduced to these last 2 weeks, I think has really allowed us the opportunity to think about our physical infrastructure and who is it for and what does it mean? Who is a road for? I often think about Chris's famous line of a budget being a moral document. I think in a lot of ways our physical infrastructure of our city is our moral pieces of infrastructure as well. And what we choose to do with them and who we listen to along the way are also moral acts. And so thank you for being engaged. Thank you to Strong Towns for what y'all are doing. And we have some just really smart people out there that are writing about these things. So if you're Liv and his Walking Spartan, if you're interested in someone who does not own a car and how to navigate life completely from a bicycle, I really encourage you to check out the Walking Spartan. There's also someone who's been writing some really great pieces, the Carolina Ecology. I haven't met that writer, but really enjoyed their pieces lately. Also, there's a blog out this weekend that I also love to follow that's been about needing local voices on both sides, called the Southern Urban Progressive. So I encourage you to check that one out as well. So just really thankful that we have some really smart people out there that are involved, that research these things, and that care enough to show up and do the hard work. So thank you all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank everyone for being here. You know, this is what I love about us as a body, is to get up here and have discussions, sometimes disagreements, but I don't see any mud that was flung anywhere. And I think we are a good example of what governing should be. Too often we see a lot out there right now. And, you know, we need to be very mindful that our young people are watching, and how we treat each other and how we engage with one another. And so I just appreciate, you know, no one calling me names. Though I disagreed with the location, not the design. So I really appreciate that. I thank you all for coming. I'm looking forward to the fastest night in Spartanburg this Friday, the Criterium. It's one of my favorite events. PAL, they do such a great job in promoting health and wellness in our community and walkability and all of the great things. Race for Wellness is being held this Sunday at Wofford College. This is actually a race or a 5K that is put on by the organization that I work for, St. Luke's Free Medical Clinic. So we provide health care to the uninsured, low-income Spartanburg County folks. So if you are in need or know individuals who are, kind of falling through the cracks, they don't qualify for Medicaid, they can't afford Marketplace. I mean, who can these days? That's what we are here for. We accept patients that are 200% or below the federal poverty line based on household income. We have on-site pharmacy, so all of our folks get their medications for free. So I've been there since 2014, and it's really great work, and I know that we're doing a lot of good to make people whole again. To me, healthcare is a right. So if you're interested in that race, all the funds proceeds to that race go towards helping us function as a clinic, because we are a nonprofit. We don't get any type of federal or state funding. So we are run solely based on the giving of others and grants. And so that's 3 o'clock, and you can go to our website and register if you are interested. So thank you all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sally.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to say the 3 down on the end takes your gusto each and every time.
I'll start this way. I'll start on my right next.
No. At any rate, I want to thank everyone who did come out, and I want to especially thank Chris for delivering a good presentation on Clock Tower. I didn't say very much because I love everything about it. I did approve the first recommendation, which was shot down, but at any rate, we don't need 2 clocks on the same side of town. And I think it's going to be really, really good to have that clock tower in Barnett Park due to the fact that it has not been used in its capacity since it's been there. And this is going to be a nice outing for the public. Also, Miss Councilwoman Brown took my gusto with the fastest night in town, which was Friday night. If you haven't been, please come. It is exciting to see the bicycles go round and round and round. And then if you can stay late enough to see the winner, you're great. Because it starts at 3 and it goes to about 9. It's out of town participants, and that is part of our growth for the city of Spartanburg. So I look forward to seeing some of you downtown. Again, I say thank you, and thank you to all the other folks that was here that's left now, but it's good to disagree to agree to make sure that we're happy, and thank you all.
Councilman Foreman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming and thank everybody for engaging on the clock tower issue and all of the other issues that we work on as a council. We are truly doing what we want to do, or try to do to improve the lives of the citizens of our community, and so we appreciate everybody's engagement. And I want to thank the Bicentennial Clock Committee for their passion on this issue, and regardless of the outcome of tonight's vote, they have elevated the importance of the tower to a new level, and so I think that is should be commended, their work. I've read all the comments. I've listened to a lot of people, and the problem when you listen to everybody, that when you don't agree with somebody, you're accused of not listening, and I can assure those that feel that way, that is simply not the case. We have listened very carefully. We have heard you. We understand your perspectives. But ultimately, at the end of the day, not everybody agrees. And so when you have distinctly different perspectives, somebody will be left feeling like they weren't listened to. And I can assure you that is not the case. And as Erica pointed out, as a council, we don't always agree, but we do so with civility and respect and an understanding and appreciation for the fact that everybody here is trying to do what's right for our community. And that is the underlying motivation that we all share, I truly believe. And I think it's fair to judge our result, hold us accountable to those results. And I am confident that once we get the clock tower rebuilt and we celebrate it and we show the history associated with it, and it becomes a vibrant new element to our downtown, I think people will be pleased with that. And I'm comfortable. I've lost a lot of sleep over the issue, but I'm comfortable in sleeping well over what we have come up with and the solution that we've arrived to. And you know, I have been disappointed in some of the discourse associated with this debate. It's not unique to this debate. It's a broader symptom of our society, but I would implore people to remember, you know, and I've said this a lot, that not only are we elected to represent the citizens of Spartanburg, but we're also your friends and neighbors. You know, we also have families, and you know, showing that level of respect and that level of consideration to one another is the bedrock of a fully functioning democracy. And I would implore everybody, now that this is over, to take a deep breath and then let's work together on issues that matter. Things, the children's cabinet, you know, things like that, what we're doing on affordable housing, all of the other good work that we're doing. Let's stay engaged and let's keep working.
Thank you for those comments, Jamie. I really do appreciate that. Really, that means a lot.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
First of all, I want to apologize for my phone going off.
No one heard it.
One of the first things that I learned that during the time I went through the municipal association is that you're supposed to turn off your telephones. You're not supposed to use your phones during council meetings. And mine went off, so I apologize.
Who was it?
It was you were using that. And then again, I want to say that if I ever had to plead a case on something, I'm going to call Councilwoman Smith. I want you on my side if I ever have to plead a case or something. And then the bell tower. I was down at the park on Saturday, and I drove by, and I got a lot of remarks from friends that are saying that this is going to make a great location for the bell to be, the bell tower to be. And I think so too. And my name was not in there, so I know yours was in there. Yeah. Yeah. Probably so. I'll say that. Okay. And then another thing, let me say this, and this is the last thing that I'm going to say. My city mail, I have not been getting my city mail on my city account for several days. So if you have sent me mail through my city account, please send it to my Gmail, because I've had a problem, and I'm convinced that Christy is going to take care of me. I'm convinced she's going to take care of me. So please, if you have sent me something since the 18th, resend it, because I've not gotten anything on my city mail since the 18th.
That's it?
Yeah,
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. It was mentioned earlier that Strong Town Spartanburg did host the Miles with the Mayor this past Saturday. I do want to thank Liv and the rest of the team for sponsoring that and being a part. I like, and I think, and I shared this with them, I like Strong Spartanburg, but it is Strong Town Spartanburg. Now, also Saturday, I mean, not only do we have the crit on Friday, but Saturday we have the burger cook-off, Cribs Burger Cook-Off that sponsors the children's cancer here in Spartanburg. So major fundraiser for our children cancer victims as well. Also on Saturday, Spartanburg High School, Viking Nation, May 2nd from 10 until 3. There will be a vendor fair Over 60 local vendors will be there, food trucks included. So come out, and this helps Spartanburg High School PTO. A big vendor fair from 10 until 3. Deputy City Manager Mitch Kennedy is not here, but he did mention before that his fraternity was here for their national conference, and they had over 1,200 men in purple, he would say. He and Chief Bruton were here this past weekend and had an outstanding time, and I was invited to several events where we were recognized as a city and doing some good things, but also a local guy, Bernard Willer. I want to say congratulations to Bernard Willer. He did win the Assistant Keeper of Finance for the 6th District. I think that's a national position, but I'm not a part of that organization, but that was pretty major for him. So congratulations to Bernard Willer. I think that is it on my notes. Do I hear a recommendation for executive session?
Make a motion to move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank everyone that participate in the